also talked about his administration's latest scandal, sending $400 million in cold, hard cash in the dark of night to Iran while Tehran was releasing American hostages. Look at this.
It's been interesting to watch this story surface. Some of you may recall, we announced these payments in January, many months ago. There wasn't a secret. We announced them to all of you. Josh did a briefing on them. This wasn't some nefarious deal. The only bit of news that is relevant on this is the fact that we paid cash, which brings me to my last point. The reason that we had to give them cash is precisely because we are so strict in maintaining sanctions, and we do not have a banking relationship with Iran, that we couldn't send them a check.
Now, meanwhile, the president and John Kerry and Susan Rice, they all admitted some of this money could, in fact, be used for terrorism, the cash that he gave them. Joining us now with reaction, the host of War Stories, Colonel Oliver North. Colonel North, I can't think of a better person to comment on this story than you, sir.
Well, Sean, I watched that press conference, was absolutely astounded. Why didn't somebody get up and ask the question, well, why did you ship it in the middle of the night in foreign currency on a chartered aircraft? Why not take it on that transport airplane, which is parked right behind the shipment of money? Why didn't they do it in the middle of the night this way? Look at the $400 million transfer to Tehran is just the latest in a 7-year history of Obama regime lies, deceits, and dissembling. Think about it. Fast and Furious, the IRS enemies list, the Obamacare, keep your health care, Benghazi, before, during, and after, the email cover-up by State and Clinton about what happened in Benghazi, and of course the ISIS is now on the ropes again. Look at the responsibility to protect people in Libya by killing Gaddafi has left a terrible caricature of America's foreign policy. And the whopper of all, and he touched on it in his press conference, the existential threat of Iran's nuke deal and the nuclear ICBM research and development with North Korea really isn't what it is.
Okay,
it's
but
looting.
You know, and of course, by the way, we need jobs for jihadis, and John Kerry equates global warming as big a danger to the world and the United States as ISIS. I guess the thing that stands out to me is, imagine a Republican president. Imagine that on the same day that hostages are released, they have an unmarked cargo plane, that they went to Switzerland and other countries to pour in euros and francs and I assume dollars and other currencies, 400 million, and in the dark of night fly this unmarked cargo plane into Tehran. Now, Josh Earnest said today that they've been completely transparent about the whole issue. Well, they never mentioned the $400 million that was transferred at the time they were getting the hostages released. So, did they pay a ransom here is the big question.
Yes, this was a ransom. Look, at the very first demand by the Iranians when I met with them in 1985 was a refund of the $400 million from the Shah, a down payment on weapons he'd wanted to buy. That's what they wanted from Jimmy Carter. That's what they wanted from me. You know, it turns out I was actually a better negotiator than John Kerry. We didn't send money to the Iranians. They paid us. I know. I was the one who had to sit down on the other side of the table with the likes of Ahmadinejad and Rouhani. What they wanted, first of all, was that $400 million. They got it from this administration. The Israelis shipped tows, and we got hostages and Iranian money. The tows were doctored so they wouldn't work, and we have an interpreter, thank God, who was there and confirmed that. We used the money from the Ayatollahs to support a pro-democracy movement in Central America. Is that the right thing to do? Apparently a lot of people decided otherwise. But we didn't have to do things like they did it. I mean, you think about this. There's an American transport plane right behind the shipment of money. And they're telling me this isn't ransom? It defies reality. Why didn't somebody ask that at the press conference today?
Yeah, well, you know, and that's the thing, and the president's got this big smile on their face, but the idea that they acknowledge that money will be used for terror, the idea that the $150 billion on top of it, that they can spin their centrifuges, that they can build up conventional arms, that they can follow up on ballistic missiles, which would allow them to launch the weapon. 2 weeks ago, it came out that we now have cut their time in half that they can build this nuclear weapon and create missile defense and join in a partnership with Vladimir Putin. Now that's, and the president's smiling. To me, this is the single greatest mistake ever made by any president in history.
We have an existential threat against the American homeland and the American people because of what this administration has done. And that money is not only going to support terrorism, that money is also going to support the research and development that's going on right now between the North Koreans and the Iranians on nuclear weapons and the means of delivering them. And this president blows it off. They just got more than 1,000 brand new centrifuges to expedite the time it takes them to refine nuclear material for weapons grade.
Well, it certainly puts into perspective, doesn't it, the criticisms that the media's been obsessed with Donald Trump, considering now we have clearly given money and weaponry and an opportunity for the world's biggest state sponsor of terror to do more terror and to fight more proxy wars as they have been doing.
Yes.
And
they're
fund
doing
other
the
terror
cash that we
groups.
gave them. Absolutely right.
All right, Colonel.
And Waleed knows that just as well as I do. I mean, it's pitiful to see the President of the United States getting up and lying like that.
Colonel, thank you. Safe home.
Pleasure.
Joining us
Thank you,
now.
brother. Appreciate